Think of how much more you might accomplish. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "If you let go of the opinion of others and simply focused on your own mind and actions." That simple yet profound idea holds the key to something we all desire: respect. Not the fleeting kind that comes from shouting the loudest or constantly explaining yourself, but the deep, lasting respect earned through quiet confidence and unwavering composure. In a world that often equates respect with status or power, the ancient Stoics saw things differently. They believed that true respect begins within, rooted in self-mastery, discipline, and a calm, undistracted focus on what truly matters. Today, we'll explore these timeless insights and uncover how you can embody this quiet strength in your own life, earning respect not by demanding it, but by becoming the kind of person others naturally look up to. Respect from others is a reflection, but self-respect is the source. You see, the Stoics were very clear on this: true respect begins within. Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, and Seneca all emphasized that a person's worth isn't determined by external opinions or societal status, but by the virtues they cultivate within themselves. So, if you want to be respected by others, the first and most important step is to respect yourself. But what does that actually mean? It means living in alignment with your principles, valuing your time and character, and building a foundation of self-discipline, integrity, and purpose. When you root your life in these internal virtues, you're no longer a captive to the approval or disapproval of others. Instead, you become grounded, steady, and unshakable qualities that naturally command respect. Here's the wisdom the Stoics understood: chasing external validation is a trap. Seneca said, "How much better to pursue a straight course, not merely one that seems straight when viewed from someone else's perspective." If your sense of self-worth relies on how others perceive you, it's like building a house on shifting sand. One day, the applause you crave might come, the next, it might disappear. But self-respect, grounded in living with virtue, is solid. It's the unmovable bedrock upon which true respect is built. When you respect yourself, you hold yourself to a higher standard and show the world that you value who you are and what you stand for. Think about it. How can you expect others to respect you if you're constantly second-guessing your own worth or betraying your principles just to fit in? The Stoics teach us that focusing on our internal virtues frees us from this endless cycle. For example, take courage, a key Stoic virtue. When you act courageously, not because someone is watching or praising you, but because it aligns with your values, you're showing self-respect. And this sets a powerful example for others. Or consider wisdom, making thoughtful, measured decisions for yourself rather than bending to momentary pressures shows that you value your own judgment. When you respect your ability to think clearly and act wisely, you naturally earn the respect of others without ever needing to ask for it. A helpful way to understand this is to imagine two people. One is always trying to explain themselves, constantly justifying their choices to those around them. They speak louder and louder, desperate to be understood. The other person, however, stands firm in their decisions. They don't feel the need to defend every action or prove their worth. They are thoughtful, composed, and deliberate. Which of the two commands more respect? The second person, without a doubt. And why is that? Because their self-respect is obvious. You don't question their confidence or integrity because their actions show it. They don't seek validation, they radiate it. Now, think about your own life for a moment. Are there situations where you find yourself over-explaining, seeking approval, or trying to prove that you belong? How might those situations change if you focused less on others' opinions and more on staying true to your principles? When you live with self-respect, you stop chasing others' approval, and paradoxically, that's precisely when respect comes to you. Self-respect isn't about arrogance or thinking you're better than anyone else. It's about recognizing that you have inherent value and choosing to live in a way that honors that value. The Stoics saw this as a daily practice, consistently acting in a way that aligns with your highest self. When you do this, you no longer feel the need to explain yourself excessively because your actions speak for you. People respect those who respect themselves because it's a sign of strength, discipline, and authenticity, qualities everyone admires but few truly embody. Often, when we over-explain ourselves, it's not because the explanation is truly necessary, it's because we feel insecure. Maybe we doubt our choices, fear being misunderstood, or worry about judgment. But here's the truth the Stoics understood. The more you try to justify yourself to others, the more you reveal your own uncertainty. Epictetus put it plainly, it is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters. This simple yet profound idea offers a clear roadmap. Instead of pouring energy into trying to control how others perceive you, direct that energy toward what you can control: your actions, your mindset, and your character. Think about it. How often have you found yourself explaining a decision or defending your point of view, not because anyone asked for clarification, but because deep down you felt the need to prove yourself? Maybe you thought, if I can just find the perfect words, they'll finally understand why I'm right. But here's the irony: the harder you try to justify yourself, the less confident you appear. Over-explaining gives away power. It signals that you need their approval more than you trust your own judgment. This effort to micromanage others' opinions becomes exhausting, and worse yet, it rarely works the way you hope. Epictetus would remind us to focus instead on what is within our control. Your values, your choices, your behavior, these are yours to command. How others interpret your actions, that's outside your sphere of influence. Trying to control it is like trying to hold back the tide with your bare hands. And here's the freedom hidden in this truth. When you let go of trying to manage others' perceptions, you free yourself to live authentically. You stop wasting energy on endless justifications and instead let your actions speak on your behalf. Let's consider an example. Imagine you decide to decline an invitation to a social event because you need time to rest and recenter. The insecure reaction might be to flood the person with explanations. I'm so sorry, I'd love to come, but I've been so busy, and I haven't been sleeping well, and I just really need. You get the picture. It's a storm of words that, instead of making things clearer, undermines your confidence in your own decision. Now contrast that with the Stoic approach. You could simply say, "Thank you for the invite, but I won't be able to make it." No long-winded defense, no apologies for your boundaries, just a calm, clear response that reflects your priorities. Which version commands respect? The one rooted in quiet confidence. The Stoics teach us that explanations are often unnecessary because the truly important things don't need to be defended. Think of a well-rooted tree. It doesn't need to justify its existence. Whether the storm comes or the sun shines, it stands firm, grounded by its roots. That's how you should approach your actions, rooted in principle, not swayed by the winds of opinion. When you make decisions based on your values, when your actions align with your purpose, no amount of explanation will make them any more valid. They simply are asterisk, and that's enough. To embody this mindset, practice pausing before you feel the urge to explain yourself. Ask, am I clarifying because it's useful, or am I justifying because I'm seeking approval? If it's the latter, remind yourself that your worth doesn't lie in others' understanding. As Epictetus taught, seek not for events to happen as you wish, but wish for events to happen as they do, and you will find tranquility. In other words, learn to accept what you can't control and focus on the strength of your actions. Quiet confidence speaks volumes far more than words ever could. The next time you're tempted to over-explain or defend your choices, follow the Stoic example. trust in your actions, align them with your values, and let them stand on their own. You'll find that the less you try to control others' perceptions, the more respect you'll naturally earn. The Stoics believed that self-control wasn't just a virtue, it was a superpower. To them, the ability to master your emotions and reactions was one of the clearest signs of inner strength. And even in today's world, this truth remains undeniable. Think about the people you respect most. Chances are they aren't the ones who explode in frustration, lash out at others, or crumble under pressure. Instead, they're the individuals who remain calm and composed in the face of challenges, the ones who respond thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. This is no coincidence. Self-control commands respect because it reflects discipline, confidence, and maturity qualities that naturally inspire admiration. At the heart of Stoic philosophy is the idea that we cannot control external events. What others say, do, or think is beyond our influence. But what we can control is how we choose to respond. Epictetus famously said, "It is not the things themselves that disturb us, but our judgments about these things." This distinction holds incredible power. When you master your own mind, you stop giving others the ability to dictate your emotions. Instead, you take full ownership of your inner world, and this self-mastery is what sets you apart. Imagine a scenario where someone criticizes you unfairly. The natural reaction might be to get defensive, lash out, or let their words fester in your mind. But what if instead you paused, acknowledged their perspective without being consumed by it, and responded with calm dignity? Which version of you has more authority, more command? The emotionally reactive version, or the composed, self-assured one? The latter, of course, because when you remain composed, you demonstrate that you are in control not just of the situation, but of yourself. And that sets a powerful tone. People instinctively respect those who don't let their emotions rule them because it's a rare and admirable quality. To see this principle in action, consider historical figures known for their unwavering calm under pressure. Take Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and perhaps the most famous Stoic. Despite facing constant challenges, wars, plagues, political turmoil, he remained a pillar of composure. Instead of reacting impulsively or being consumed by anger, he approached each challenge with reason and restraint. His self-discipline earned him the respect of not only his contemporaries, but also countless generations who study his life and writings. Now imagine another leader who constantly lashes out in frustration or panics at the first sign of trouble. Which one would you follow? Which one would you trust? In modern life, the same principle applies. Think of a manager who handles workplace conflicts with calm, measured responses versus another who's quick to yell or assign blame. Or a friend who listens patiently and responds thoughtfully, even during disagreements, compared to one who escalates every argument. In every case, the person with self-control earns greater respect because they create a sense of stability. Their calmness becomes a source of strength that others naturally gravitate toward. But cultivating this kind of self-control isn't always easy. Emotions are powerful, and staying composed in the heat of the moment often feels unnatural. The Stoics knew this, which is why they advocated for regular mental training. Marcus Aurelius, for example, practiced what is now called premeditation, or preparing for challenges in advance. He would reflect on the potential difficulties of the day ahead, harsh criticism, uncooperative people, unexpected losses, and remind himself that these were opportunities to practice patience and resolve. The goal wasn't to suppress emotions, but to create space between a stimulus and a response. This space is where your power lies. In your own life, you can do this too. When emotions flare up, pause and remind yourself of what's within your control. Focus on how you want to respond, not how your instincts tell you to react. Is frustration or anger going to serve you, or will calmness give you the clarity to make a better decision? Over time, these small moments of self-control add up. As you master your reactions, you not only gain a sense of personal peace, but also project a quiet strength that others can't help but admire. Self-control isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending you don't care. It's about choosing how to channel those emotions constructively. When you remain calm under pressure, when you refuse to let others dictate your reactions, you show that you are steady, strong, and in charge of yourself. And that, more than any words or actions, is what earns genuine respect. Freedom begins the moment you stop being a prisoner to the opinions of others. For the Stoics, this was a cornerstone of their philosophy. They understood that the more we tie our sense of self-worth to external validation, whether it's praise or criticism, the more we hand over our power. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, offered a timeless reminder. I have often wondered how it is that every man loves himself more than all the rest of men, but yet sets less value on his own opinion of himself than on the opinion of others. This quote strikes at the core of the Stoic belief that true peace comes from within, not from chasing the ever-changing judgments of the outside world. The Stoics practiced what we might call cognitive detachment, the ability to separate your internal sense of value from the external noise of other people's opinions. This detachment doesn't mean arrogance or indifference. It means recognizing that other people's thoughts are just that, they're thoughts. They're shaped by their own experiences, biases, and emotions, often having little to do with who you truly are. Detachment allows you to step back and ask yourself, does this opinion reflect my values, or is it simply a reflection of someone else's perspective? When you can make that distinction, you free yourself from the mental weight of trying to constantly manage or respond to how others feel about you. Let's explore how this might look in a real-world situation. Imagine you've taken on a bold new project at work. Some colleagues praise you, calling your idea innovative and exciting. Others express doubt or even criticize your approach. Without cognitive detachment, you might find yourself riding an emotional roller coaster, buoyed by the praise one moment, crushed by the criticism the next. But the Stoic approach is different. Instead of reacting emotionally, you would remind yourself that neither the praise nor the criticism defines you. Praise might feel good in the moment, but it doesn't make your idea inherently better. Similarly, criticism might sting, but it doesn't automatically make your approach wrong. What matters is whether your actions align with your principles and whether you've done your best with the knowledge and tools available to you. Marcus Aurelius's writings often emphasize this point. He warns against being seduced by flattery or crushed by disapproval. To him, opinions, whether positive or negative, were like passing clouds. They come and go, shaped by forces beyond your control. Why waste your time obsessing over them? Instead, he encouraged focusing on what you can control, your own thoughts, choices, and character. Because at the end of the day, the only opinion that truly matters is the one you hold about yourself, as long as it's rooted in reason, virtue, and integrity. This mindset doesn't just bring inner peace, it's also remarkably empowering. When you detach from the need for approval, you become free to pursue what's meaningful to you rather than what's popular or socially praised. Consider someone like Galileo, whose groundbreaking discoveries were met with criticism and rejection by his peers. Had he been consumed by the fear of others' opinions, he might have abandoned his work. Instead, he remained committed to his pursuit of truth, even when it came at a great personal cost. His detachment from outside judgment allowed him to focus on what mattered, and today, he's remembered as one of the greatest contributors to science. But how do we cultivate this kind of detachment in our own lives? The first step is awareness. Start by noticing how often you're swayed by the opinions of others. Are you overly elated when someone praises you? Do you dwell on criticism, replaying it in your mind? Once you become aware of these patterns, you can remind yourself of the Stoic principle. Other people's opinions are not in your control, but your reaction to them is. The second step is to ground yourself in your own values. When you know what you stand for, you become less vulnerable to the shifting tides of external validation. Detachment from opinions doesn't mean you ignore feedback or isolate yourself from others. Instead, it means you process external input without letting it define you. Praise is nice, but it doesn't inflate your ego. Criticism can be useful, but it doesn't wound your sense of self. By practicing cognitive detachment, you gain the mental clarity and strength to navigate life with a calm, steady resolve, unshaken by the noise around you. This, the Stoics believed, is one of the keys to true freedom. Integrity at its core is about alignment between your values, your words, and your actions. For the Stoics, living with integrity wasn't just a moral ideal, it was the foundation for a meaningful and respected life. They believed that no matter what external pressures you face, staying true to your principles is essential. Why? Because integrity, unlike wealth, status, or popularity, is a quality that no one can give to you or take away from you. It's something you earn every single day by acting in accordance with what you believe is right. And when you live with integrity, respect from others becomes a natural byproduct. You don't have to chase it or explain yourself. Your actions speak louder than any words ever could. Epictetus reminded us, first say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do. This is the essence of integrity. It's about defining your values and committing to them, regardless of whether others approve or criticize. The Stoics understood that to live a fulfilling life, you must prioritize your inner moral compass over the ever-changing opinions of the crowd. When you live this way, people can see the consistency and authenticity in your actions. They may not always agree with you, but they will respect you because they know you stand for something. To see how this works in practice, let's consider a simple but powerful example. Imagine you're part of a group at work or in your social circle, and someone begins gossiping about a colleague or mutual friend. The easy thing to do, the thing that might earn approval in the moment, would be to join in or stay silent. But if one of your core values is kindness or fairness, neither of those options aligns with your principles. Acting with integrity might mean calmly saying, "I'd rather not talk about them when they're not here to speak for themselves," or simply changing the subject. In that moment, you might face some awkwardness or even criticism for not going along with the group. But over time, people will notice that you consistently act in alignment with your values, and even if they don't say it outright, they will respect you for it. This is the quiet power of integrity. It creates trust. People learn that they can rely on you to do what's right, even when it's inconvenient or unpopular. They see that you don't sway with the winds of external judgment, and that makes your character unshakable. It's the kind of respect that doesn't need to be demanded or explained. It's earned naturally through consistent action. Another powerful aspect of integrity is that it builds self-respect, which is the cornerstone of earning respect from others. When you know you're living in alignment with your values, you don't need validation or excessive explanations. You can stand firm in your decisions because you've made them thoughtfully and authentically. Seneca writes, "Let us not envy those who stand higher than we do. What they have gained by wrong means they do not own." This quote reminds us that while others may take shortcuts or compromise their principles to get ahead, their success is hollow. True fulfillment and true respect come from knowing you stayed true to yourself, no matter the outcome. Living with integrity also simplifies life. When your actions consistently reflect your values, you no longer feel the need to explain or justify yourself at every turn. You build a reputation for honesty and consistency, and that reputation speaks for itself. People trust you because they know where you stand, and they respect you because they see that you never compromise the core of who you are. So, how can you begin to cultivate this kind of integrity in your daily life? Start by identifying your core values. What principles guide you? What kind of person do you want to be? Once you're clear about these, hold yourself accountable. In moments of doubt or pressure, ask, does this decision align with my values? You'll find that the more you practice integrity, the more natural it becomes. Over time, your actions will create a ripple effect, earning not just outward respect but also a deep sense of inner peace. Living with integrity may not be the easiest path, but it's undoubtedly the most rewarding. It requires courage, consistency, and sometimes even sacrifice. But by staying true to your principles, you embody a strength of character that others can't help but admire. Respect in its truest form begins with integrity, and the best part, it doesn't require explanations. It's written clearly in the way you live your life. Criticism is an unavoidable part of life. No matter how carefully you try to live, how much effort you put into your work, or how kind you aim to be, someone somewhere will have something negative to say about you. The Stoics understood this universal truth, but instead of fearing criticism, they embraced it as an opportunity for growth. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, once wrote, "What progress have I made? I am beginning to be my own friend." And part of being your own friend is learning to handle criticism with resilience and grace, not allowing it to wound your spirit, but instead turning it into something constructive. To the Stoics, criticism was not something to dread or shrink away from, but nor was it something to react to with defensiveness or anger. They saw it as a mirror, reflecting aspects of ourselves we might not have noticed otherwise. When someone offers a critique, it can be a gift, an opportunity to learn and improve. But it's important to recognize that not all criticism is created equal. This is where Seneca's wisdom shines. He advises us to evaluate the source and intention behind the criticism before deciding how to respond. Is the critique coming from someone who genuinely wants to help you improve? Or is it coming from someone who is speaking out of jealousy, malice, or misunderstanding? The Stoic approach is to remain calm and composed in either case. If the criticism is valid, accept it humbly and use it as a tool for self-improvement. If it's baseless or malicious, let it pass without letting it disrupt your peace. Seneca reminds us, a gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials. In other words, the challenges you face, including criticism, are necessary for your growth. By approaching them with grace, you transform what might feel like an attack into an opportunity for betterment. Let's break this down into practical terms. Imagine you've just completed a project at work, and your manager points out several flaws in your approach. A natural reaction might be to feel defensive, to explain at length why those flaws weren't your fault, or even to dismiss the feedback altogether. But the Stoic approach is different. You pause, you listen, and you separate your ego from the critique itself. Instead of seeing it as an attack on your character, you view it as feedback on your work, a chance to learn and do better next time. On the other hand, let's say someone criticizes you unfairly, perhaps in a way that feels deeply personal or even unkind. Here, the Stoic response would be to remain calm, resist the urge to argue, and reflect on whether their words have any merit. If they do, you accept the truth and make adjustments. If they don't, you let it go. Marcus Aurelius echoed this approach perfectly when he wrote, "You have power over your mind, not outside events." Realize this and you will find strength. You can't control someone's opinions or words, but you can control how much weight you give them. The beauty of the Stoic mindset is that it turns criticism into a win-win situation. If the critique is valid, it helps you grow. If it's baseless, it reveals more about the critic than it does about you. Either way, you remain grounded and unshaken, showing resilience and self-mastery. And when you handle criticism with such calm composure, you naturally command respect. People admire those who don't crumble or lash out in the face of judgment. Instead, you show strength by demonstrating that you're confident enough to listen, reflect, and move forward without being ruled by others' opinions. So the next time you face criticism, try this. Pause, take a deep breath, and remind yourself of what the Stoics taught. Ask, what can I learn from this? If the answer is something valuable, embrace it with gratitude. If not, let it roll off your back. Criticism will come and go, but how you handle it defines your character. And when you respond with grace and resilience, you not only grow as a person, but also become a living example of Stoic strength. Silence is often misunderstood. Many see it as a sign of weakness, hesitation, or a lack of confidence. But to the Stoics, silence was one of the most powerful tools a person could cultivate. It wasn't about withdrawing or avoiding confrontation. It was about exercising restraint, choosing your words carefully, speaking only when it truly mattered. This quiet discipline of silence allowed the Stoics to reflect deeply, act deliberately, and command respect without ever raising their voices. Epictetus once said, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." Listening, the Stoics believed, is far more valuable than filling the air with unnecessary noise. Silence gives you the space to absorb information, to understand others, and to reflect on your own thoughts before responding. It's in that reflection that wisdom grows. When you speak only after you've truly thought something through, your words carry more weight. They come from a place of clarity, not impulsiveness, and that in itself conveys confidence and wisdom. Think of the most respected people in your life. Are they the ones who constantly talk, interrupt, or rush to fill every gap in the conversation? Probably not. Instead, you likely admire those who listen intently, pause before answering, and speak with purpose. Their silence is not a lack of engagement, it's a sign of self-control and intention. By choosing their words carefully, they show respect for themselves and for others. This restraint not only makes their contributions more impactful, but also earns them the trust and admiration of those around them. On the other hand, consider how our modern world often rewards constant talking. Social media, for example, encourages us to share every thought, opinion, or reaction without pause. But the Stoics would warn against this. Marcus Aurelius noted, "If someone can prove me wrong and show me my mistake, I will gladly change, for it is the truth I seek, and the truth never harmed anyone." This humility requires listening more than speaking. It requires silence, not to suppress your voice, but to ensure that when you do speak, your words are grounded in truth and purpose. Practically speaking, embracing silence can transform how you interact with others. Start by practicing active listening. When someone talks, focus entirely on their words without mentally preparing your response. Give them space to express themselves fully before you weigh in. This not only deepens your understanding, but also shows the other person that you value what they're saying. It's a simple yet profound way to build stronger relationships and earn respect. Another way to harness the power of silence is to resist the urge to fill every pause in conversation. Silence can feel uncomfortable, but that discomfort often creates space for deeper thought or for the other person to share more openly. Instead of rushing to respond, take a moment to reflect. A thoughtful pause before speaking not only gives you clarity, but also signals to others that you're deliberate and intentional in your communication. And when you do speak, your words will carry more authority because they're not driven by impulse but by purpose. Furthermore, silence isn't just about the absence of sound, it's about the presence of reflection. The Stoics frequently practiced daily moments of silence to review their actions, question their motives, and prepare for the challenges ahead. This habit of reflection allowed them to live more aligned and purposeful lives. You can incorporate this practice into your daily routine by setting aside quiet time to evaluate the day's events. Ask yourself, did I speak too hastily? Did my words align with my values? Was there a moment when silence might have been the better choice? Over time, this self-awareness sharpens your ability to determine when to speak and when to remain silent. Ultimately, the power of silence lies in its subtlety. It doesn't draw attention to itself, but it commands attention when used effectively. By relying less on words and more on thoughtful action, you communicate strength and wisdom without needing to explain or prove yourself. The Stoics understood this well. The less you say, the more impact your words carry. Let your silence reflect your confidence, your thoughtfulness, and your self-mastery. Sometimes the loudest statement you can make is the one you don't say at all. The Stoics believed in the profound power of actions over words. To them, respect wasn't something to be demanded or preached about. It was something to be earned through how you lived. While many people today try to prove their worth with elaborate explanations or grand declarations, the Stoics understood a timeless truth. If you want to inspire respect, let your actions do the talking. This wasn't just a piece of advice for others, it was a principle they modeled in their own lives day after day. Take Marcus Aurelius, for example. As Roman emperor, he held one of the most powerful and visible positions in the ancient world. It would have been easy for him to use his authority to dictate respect or demand loyalty. Yet, Marcus Aurelius didn't rely on titles or speeches to earn admiration. Instead, he focused on embodying the very virtues he valued: discipline, humility, and justice. During his reign, he faced tremendous challenges: wars on the empire's borders, political betrayal, and even a devastating plague that swept through Rome. But even in the face of these trials, Marcus Aurelius led with quiet strength. He worked tirelessly alongside his soldiers on the front lines, enduring the same harsh conditions they faced. He didn't set himself apart as an untouchable leader. He chose to lead by example, showing his people what resilience and commitment to duty looked like instead of preaching it. His actions earned him loyalty and respect from both his army and his citizens, not because he demanded it, but because he consistently demonstrated that he was worthy of it. This approach to leadership and respect reflects one of the core teachings of Stoicism, that actions hold far more weight than words. Seneca once wrote, "Let deeds speak." It's a simple yet powerful reminder that what you do carries far more meaning than what you say. Think about it. How often have you heard someone make promises or bold claims, only to see their actions fall short? Words can be persuasive, but they are empty without follow-through. On the other hand, when someone consistently backs up their principles with action, it leaves a lasting impression. In your own life, consider how often you try to explain yourself, convince others of your intentions, or justify your decisions. What would happen if instead you channeled that energy into your actions? Imagine you're working on a project at your job. You could spend countless hours explaining to your coworkers why you're reliable, capable, and up to the task. Or you could simply show them, by delivering high-quality work, meeting deadlines, and staying accountable, your actions would naturally speak louder than anything you could say. Over time, your consistency would earn you trust and respect, not because you told others you deserved it, but because you proved it through what you did. The Stoic emphasis on action is not just about external respect, it's also deeply tied to self-respect. When you base your life around meaningful deeds rather than empty words, you build a sense of confidence and integrity within yourself. You know that your actions align with your values, which gives you a quiet, unshakable strength. And the beauty of this approach is that it requires no explanations, no justifications. It's the simplicity of letting your behavior reveal your character, but living this way requires intention and a clear sense of purpose. The Stoics believed that every action should be guided by virtue. It's not just about doing something for your actions to truly speak. They must reflect your highest principles, whether it's standing firm in the face of injustice, showing kindness when it's easier to be indifferent, or staying disciplined when distractions call. Each choice you make becomes a reflection of who you are. And when your actions consistently reflect virtue, people will notice. They may not always say it, but they will see it and they will respect it. Leading with your actions also has a ripple effect. When you consistently embody the qualities you believe in, you inspire others to do the same. Think back to Marcus Aurelius. His actions didn't just earn him respect, they set an example for others to follow. His soldiers, his advisors, even ordinary citizens who heard of his deeds were inspired by his steadfast commitment to virtue. In the same way, when you live with integrity and consistency, you create a quiet legacy that extends far beyond words. The art of letting your actions speak is not about perfection. It's about striving every day to align what you do with what you believe. The Stoics understood that respect, both from others and from yourself, is not something you can force. It's something you earn step by step, decision by decision, action by action. So the next time you feel the urge to explain yourself, pause and ask, how can my actions tell the story instead? Because in the end, actions don't just speak louder than words, they speak the truth. Emotional equanimity is one of the most profound lessons the Stoics taught us. In their eyes, staying calm and composed, no matter what life throws at you, was not just a sign of strength, it was the foundation of a well-lived life. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, repeatedly reminded himself, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this and you will find strength." This idea, simple yet transformative, lies at the heart of Stoicism. The events of life, the opinions of others, or even sudden misfortunes, these are beyond your control. But how you respond to them, that is entirely within your grasp. And when you master this ability to remain steady through life's ups and downs, you project a quiet confidence that naturally earns respect. Think about it. How often do we admire those who remain calm under pressure? Whether it's a leader navigating a crisis, a friend offering steady advice in a moment of chaos, or a parent maintaining patience during a child's tantrum, their ability to stay composed sets them apart. We instinctively respect people who don't let external events dictate their internal state because they radiate a sense of control, wisdom, and reliability. This is what the Stoics called emotional equanimity, the ability to remain balanced and unshaken regardless of what is happening around you. It's not about suppressing emotions or pretending you don't feel. It's about not allowing external circumstances to pull you off course. The beauty of emotional equanimity is that it's not something you're born with, it's something you can cultivate. The Stoics practiced this through deliberate techniques, many of which are still highly relevant today. Journaling, for example, was a cornerstone of their daily routine. Marcus Aurelius's Meditations wasn't meant to be a published work. It was his private journal where he reflected on the challenges of his day, his reactions, and how he could better align himself with his principles. This simple practice of writing down your thoughts and emotions creates a space to process them. Instead of being overwhelmed by frustration, fear, or anger, journaling allows you to step back and examine your feelings with clarity. Ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? Is this within my control? And if not, how can I let it go? Over time, this habit helps you develop a more measured, rational response to life's challenges, which strengthens your ability to maintain calm under pressure. Another technique the Stoics valued was mindfulness, though they didn't use that exact term. They believed in being fully present in each moment, focusing on what is within their control and letting the rest fall away. Epictetus often reminded his students, keep your will in line with nature and you will never be poor. Keep it opposite to nature and you will never be rich. In other words, ground yourself in what is real and in front of you. rather than being swept away by anxious thoughts about the unpredictable future or regrets about the past. In modern terms, this could involve practices like meditation or simply deep, focused breathing when you feel emotions beginning to take over. These tools help center you, bringing you back to a state of calm and clarity. Equanimity also ties directly into respect because it shows others you are not easily rattled. Imagine working with two colleagues. One becomes flustered at the first sign of a setback, raising their voice, panicking, and blaming others. The other remains calm, assessing the situation thoughtfully and taking action without unnecessary drama. Which of the two would you trust more? Which one commands your respect? It's almost always the person who keeps their composure. This steady presence creates a sense of reliability and authority that others gravitate toward. Of course, developing emotional equanimity isn't about suppressing your feelings or pretending nothing affects you. It's about finding a balance, acknowledging your emotions without being ruled by them. The Stoics teach us that emotions are natural and human, but we have a choice in how we respond to them. By practicing techniques like journaling, mindfulness, or even simply pausing to take a breath before reacting, you build the habit of staying balanced. Over time, this calm presence becomes second nature, helping you lead with strength and clarity while earning the respect of those around you. Ultimately, emotional equanimity isn't just about how others see you, it's about how you feel within yourself. When you stay steady amidst life's uncertainties, you don't just project composure, you create an inner peace that sustains you. And when others see that grounded presence, they naturally look to you as someone they can trust, admire, and respect. Wisdom, to the Stoics, was not merely an intellectual pursuit. It was a way of life, a daily practice of aligning thoughts and actions with reason and virtue. They believed wisdom was the highest of all virtues because it served as the guide for everything else: courage, self-control, justice, and even resilience. Without wisdom, they argued, a person could not live well because their decisions and actions would be clouded by impulse, ignorance, or misplaced priorities. Wisdom brings clarity, not just intellectual clarity, but moral clarity. And this clarity not only leads to a life of purpose, but also naturally inspires respect from those around you. Epictetus, one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, often spoke about the importance of using reason as your guiding principle. He taught that wisdom begins with understanding what is within your control and what is not. He said, happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle: some things are within our control and some things are not. This was a cornerstone of his philosophy. To act wisely, you must first recognize the boundaries of your influence and focus your energy only on what you can change: your thoughts, your choices, and your actions. This clarity allows you to make decisions that reflect reason rather than emotional reactivity, fostering not only inner peace but also the trust and admiration of others. Consider what happens when someone demonstrates wisdom in the way they solve problems or handle challenges. Imagine a difficult work situation where emotions are running high and people are scrambling to assign blame or make hasty decisions. In such a moment, the person who steps back, assesses the situation calmly, and offers a clear, reasonable course of action naturally commands respect. Their wisdom not only helps resolve the issue, but also shows that they are capable of seeing the bigger picture, thinking critically, and maintaining poise under pressure. People admire wisdom because it provides stability and direction, qualities that are rare and invaluable in moments of uncertainty. But wisdom, as the Stoics saw it, was not just about being reasonable or strategic. It was deeply tied to morality. To them, a truly wise person is not only clear-headed but also guided by a commitment to doing what is right. Epictetus emphasized this when he said, "If you wish to be good, first believe that you are bad." This wasn't self-deprecation, it was an invitation to introspection. The wise person doesn't assume they already know everything or that they're beyond making mistakes. Instead, they remain humble, always questioning whether their actions align with their values and seeking to improve. This humility and dedication to moral clarity are what set truly wise people apart. They're not just intelligent, they're principled, and this combination of intellect and virtue creates a kind of quiet authority that inspires deep respect. To cultivate wisdom, the Stoics believed in aligning your thoughts and actions with reason. They encouraged constant reflection, asking yourself questions like, am I acting out of impulse or am I acting in accordance with my values? Is this choice guided by short-term emotions or by long-term principles? Am I contributing to the greater good or merely serving my own desires? By practicing this level of self-awareness, you train yourself to think and act more wisely over time. And as your decisions reflect this thoughtful approach, you naturally build a reputation for being someone people can look to for insight and guidance. The pursuit of wisdom, however, is not about perfection, it's about progress. The Stoics believed that wisdom is an ongoing journey, something to strive for every day. And as you commit to this journey, you create a foundation for respect that is both authentic and enduring. People respect wisdom because it's not just about what you know, it's about how you live. It's about showing through your actions that your thoughts are clear, your intentions are virtuous, and your decisions are grounded in reason. And when you consistently align yourself with these principles, you don't need to explain why you deserve respect. Your life speaks for itself. True confidence doesn't need to shout, it speaks for itself. The Stoics understood this well, and their teachings provide a timeless blueprint for cultivating confidence without slipping into arrogance. To the Stoics, confidence is rooted in self-awareness and humility. It's not about proclaiming your strengths or constantly seeking recognition from others. Instead, it's about quietly knowing your worth, trusting your abilities, and remaining humble enough to recognize that no matter how much you've achieved, there's always more to learn and room to grow. This quiet confidence, grounded in authenticity and self-mastery, is far more impactful and far more respected than boastfulness could ever be. Seneca captured this balance perfectly when he wrote, "It is the power of the mind to be unconquerable." This kind of confidence doesn't rely on external validation or comparisons to others. It comes from an internal understanding of who you are, what you stand for, and the knowledge that your worth isn't determined by external measures like fame or fortune. But alongside this inner strength, the Stoics also warned against the dangers of arrogance, believing you're superior to those around you. They saw arrogance as a weakness, a sign that someone's confidence isn't rooted in self-awareness but in insecurity and the need for others' approval. Imagine two different people walking into a room. The first is loud, making sure everyone hears their accomplishments, dominating conversations and pointing out their strengths. The second is composed, listening more than they speak, contributing thoughtfully, and letting their actions and presence speak for themselves, who leaves a stronger impression. It's almost always the second person. Why? Because confidence laced with humility feels authentic. It doesn't need to exaggerate or demand attention. Boastfulness, on the other hand, often repels people. It gives the impression that someone is trying to prove their worth, which ironically signals insecurity rather than strength. One of the key Stoic practices for building this quiet confidence is self-awareness. Marcus Aurelius often reflected on his own flaws as well as his strengths. He didn't inflate his ego with his achievements, even though, as emperor, he had countless reasons to. Instead, he actively reminded himself of his humanity, writing, "Do not think yourself more than mere flesh and blood." This practice of self-reflection keeps confidence in check. It allows you to celebrate your growth and accomplishments while remaining grounded and open to feedback. True confidence recognizes that you're capable, but it also acknowledges your imperfections and the constant journey of self-improvement. Practically speaking, you can start cultivating this kind of quiet confidence by shifting the way you measure success. Instead of comparing yourself to others or seeking their approval, focus on living in alignment with your values. Are you acting with integrity? Are you improving on the things you can control? Are you showing up consistently for your commitments? Confidence grows naturally when you know you're putting in the effort to grow and improve, regardless of whether others notice. It becomes unshakable because it's based on what you do, not what others think. Consider this simple yet universal example. Imagine someone preparing for a big presentation. The boastful approach might look like someone trying to impress their audience with flashy slides and over-the-top self-promotion, aiming to win admiration. But the Stoic confident approach, that person would focus on doing the work, preparing thoroughly, and delivering their message clearly and effectively without worrying about how they're perceived. Their confidence wouldn't come from trying to dominate the room, but from trusting in their preparation and purpose. As a result, their calm, composed demeanor would speak volumes, leaving an impression that lasts far longer than any boastful display ever could. It's also important to pair confidence with humility, which allows you to connect with others rather than alienate them. Humility doesn't mean thinking less of yourself. It simply means recognizing that everyone has something to teach you and that your value isn't diminished by others' success. When you approach the world with this mindset, you don't feel the need to broadcast your strengths because you're secure in them. And the more you listen, learn, and stay open, the more respect you naturally earn. Ultimately, the Stoic approach to confidence is about balance. It's about standing firmly in your abilities while remaining humble enough to admit your weaknesses. It's about knowing your worth without seeking constant approval, and it's about letting your actions rather than your words show who you are. Confidence without arrogance is magnetic. It draws people in, inspires trust, and sets an example of quiet strength that speaks far louder than boastfulness ever could. The Stoics believed that one of the most important keys to peace of mind and to living a life worthy of respect was understanding the boundaries of control. It might sound simple, but it's one of the most powerful ideas in their philosophy. Epictetus, perhaps the most vocal advocate for this principle, put it plainly: some things are within our control and some things are not. For the Stoics, this wasn't just a philosophical observation, it was a guide to life. They realized that much of human stress, frustration, and conflict comes from trying to control the uncontrollable. But when you focus only on what is truly within your power, your own thoughts, actions, and choices, you free yourself from unnecessary suffering and gain a sense of clarity that inspires both calm and respect. Think about your own life for a moment. How often do you find yourself caught up in things that you can't change? Maybe it's a comment someone made about you that you keep replaying in your mind, a decision at work that didn't go the way you wanted, or even something as simple as bad weather ruining your plans. These situations can feel frustrating, even maddening, because they're outside your influence. Yet we often let them dominate our thoughts. The Stoics would see this as wasted energy. Epictetus would ask, "Is this within your control?" If the answer is no, the Stoic answer would be to let it go and refocus your attention on what you can control. The reason this mindset is so powerful is that it allows you to remain composed no matter what life throws at you. And composure, as we've seen throughout this discussion, is one of the fastest ways to earn respect. Imagine two people responding to the same challenge. One becomes flustered, emotional, and reactive, railing against the situation and blaming others. The other remains calm and steady, focusing on what can be done and accepting what cannot. Which of the two do you naturally admire more? The person who stays composed, of course, because composure reflects inner strength. It shows that they're not easily shaken by external events and can maintain control over themselves even when things feel chaotic. Here's how you can put this Stoic principle into practice. When faced with a challenge or an upsetting situation, pause and ask yourself, what part of this is within my control? For example, let's say you're stuck in traffic, running late for an important meeting. You can't control the traffic, and you can't instantly change the time it takes to arrive. But what can you control? You can choose to stay calm, to use the extra time to prepare mentally, or even listen to something useful like a Stoic audiobook or podcast. You can remind yourself that your worth doesn't hinge on being a few minutes late. This shift in focus not only helps you stay calm, but also ensures that you're better equipped to handle the situation when you arrive. The same principle applies to relationships and social interactions. Let's say someone criticizes you unfairly or behaves rudely toward you. You can't control their behavior or their opinions, but you can control how you respond. Do you lash out, escalate the situation, or try to prove your point at all costs? Or do you take a moment to breathe, let their words pass without taking them personally, and respond with grace? The ability to remain composed in these moments not only protects your peace of mind, but also earns the respect of others. People admire those who don't let external circumstances or others' negativity dictate their reactions. The Stoic focus on control also helps you avoid unnecessary stress. When you stop trying to control things that aren't yours to control, you free up your mental and emotional energy for what truly matters: your choices, your values, and your actions. This clarity brings a deep sense of peace, and it signals to others that you're someone who is grounded, thoughtful, and capable. It's no wonder that this kind of unshakable composure naturally commands respect. So, the next time you feel frustrated, overwhelmed, or anxious, remember the wisdom of the Stoics. Ask yourself, what part of this is truly within my control? Focus your energy there and let the rest go. Not only will you grow calmer and more resilient, but you'll also set an example that others can't help but respect. Because in a world where so many are consumed by what they can't control, the ability to remain composed is a rare and powerful quality. Justice to the Stoics was a virtue that stood unwavering, independent of recognition or reward. They believed that to act justly was not about being seen or praised. It was about doing what is right because it aligns with your values, your principles, and your character. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, reminded himself constantly of this truth, writing, "When you have done well and another has benefited, why do you still look, as fools do, for a third thing besides credit for the good deed or a favor in return?" In his view, true justice was its own reward, and seeking acknowledgement only diluted the purity of the act. At its core, justice in Stoicism isn't simply about following the rules or treating others fairly. It's about recognizing our shared humanity and acting in a way that respects and uplifts everyone. However, in a world that often rewards flashy, superficial gestures over quiet integrity, it can feel tempting to seek recognition for doing the right thing. But the Stoics challenged us to resist this urge. They taught that the value of justice doesn't come from how others perceive your actions, but from the knowledge that you've acted virtuously, regardless of whether anyone noticed. This is the essence of being self-sufficient in virtue, knowing that your worth is not tied to external validation, but to the standards you uphold within yourself. Imagine, for example, being in a workplace where you see someone else struggling with a task. You could step in to help quietly, knowing it's the fair and compassionate thing to do, even if no one thanks you or gives you credit. Or you could make a show of your assistance, ensuring that everyone around you sees your efforts and praises you for your kindness. The latter may gain you temporary applause, but the Stoics would argue that it misses the mark of true justice. Acting justly isn't about being celebrated, it's about contributing to the greater good because it's the right thing to do, regardless of whether anyone else acknowledges it. This mindset requires a shift in focus. Instead of asking, "What will others think of me if I do this?" ask, "Am I living in alignment with my values?" By doing so, you create a sense of inner peace and self-sufficiency. You no longer depend on external recognition to validate your actions. Instead, you find fulfillment in knowing that you're living a life consistent with your principles. Over time, this quiet consistency is what earns genuine respect from others, not because you sought it, but because people recognize the authenticity in how you live. We all know someone who exemplifies this. Perhaps it's a teacher who goes out of their way to help struggling students, not for accolades or awards, but because they genuinely care. Or a colleague who always looks out for the team's best interests, even if their efforts go unnoticed by supervisors. Their quiet commitment to justice, free of ego, becomes a source of respect. They don't need to declare their good deeds because their actions speak for themselves. And while they may not receive immediate praise, their integrity builds trust and admiration over time. The Stoics also understood that acting justly, even when unnoticed, has a ripple effect. When you treat others with fairness and sincerity, you inspire those around you to do the same. Your actions, even in silence, set an example that can influence others in ways you may never see. Seneca said, "Wherever there is a human being, there is an opportunity for kindness." This reminder underscores that justice is not something you do only when it benefits you or enhances your reputation. It's something you do because it's a reflection of who you are. Practicing justice without seeking praise requires self-discipline and a commitment to higher principles. It means being content with the knowledge that you've done right by others, even if no one else acknowledges it. And paradoxically, this selfless approach often leads to the deepest and most lasting respect, because those who act with integrity, quietly and consistently, radiate a kind of strength that doesn't need applause to be noticed. It's in the way they treat others, the way they carry themselves, and the way they live in alignment with their values. That is where true justice lies, and that is where true respect begins. Simplicity was a cornerstone of Stoic philosophy. To the Stoics, it wasn't just about living with fewer possessions or rejecting luxury. It was about creating clarity in thought, action, and purpose. They understood that complexity often leads to distraction, stress, and the need to over-explain ourselves, as if we're trying to justify the unnecessary layers we've built into our lives. But by embracing simplicity, they believed we could strip away the noise, focus on what truly matters, and live with a sense of freedom and calm that naturally commands respect. Seneca, reflecting on the value of simplicity, wrote, "Life is long if you know how to use it." This echoes the Stoic appreciation for cutting away excess, not just in material possessions, but in how we think, act, and respond to the world. To them, simplicity wasn't about deprivation. It was about alignment, making sure that everything in your life serves a purpose and supports your core values. This approach eliminates the clutter that so often forces us to explain or justify ourselves, whether it's overcomplicated decisions, conflicting commitments, or the need to conform to societal expectations. In modern terms, this mindset aligns closely with minimalist ideas, the notion that less is more. People around the world are recognizing that the constant pursuit of more, whether in possessions, achievements, or status, often leads to overwhelm rather than happiness. Minimalism teaches us that by focusing on what truly adds value to our lives, we can reduce stress and create space for what's most meaningful. And just like the Stoics, modern minimalists don't see this as a sacrifice, they see it as freedom. Imagine for a moment someone who lives life in alignment with simplicity. Their home is free of unnecessary clutter, not because they can't afford more, but because they've chosen to surround themselves only with what serves a purpose or brings them joy. Their schedule isn't packed with endless commitments, but reflects their priorities: time for meaningful relationships, personal growth, and reflection. And when it comes to how they speak and act, there's no need for grandiose explanations or justifications. Their life is clear and intentional, and because of that, their actions speak for themselves. They live with a quiet confidence, showing that they don't need to prove anything to anyone. This simplicity, both in lifestyle and mindset, naturally earns respect because it reflects clarity, focus, and self-awareness. On the other hand, consider how complexity often leads to unnecessary explanations. When we take on too many possessions, obligations, or responsibilities, we may feel pressured to explain why our homes are filled with things we rarely use, why we're constantly rushing from one engagement to another, or why we've made decisions that don't align with our values. Complexity breeds justification. Simplicity removes the need. When you live simply, you aren't weighed down by the need to justify your choices. They're self-evident. There's a quiet power in that. The Stoics also applied this principle to their thoughts and actions. They believed in approaching challenges with clarity and practicality, rather than overcomplicating matters or overthinking decisions. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself in his meditations, "If it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it." This is simplicity in action, cutting through the noise of doubt, second-guessing, and over-analysis to focus on what is honest, just, and necessary. By applying this mindset, you not only avoid unnecessary stress, but also build a life that feels purposeful and easy to navigate. To embrace this kind of simplicity in your own life, start by reflecting on what truly matters to you. What possessions, commitments, or even thought patterns are adding unnecessary complexity? Are there areas where you feel the need to constantly explain or justify yourself? If so, ask whether simplifying those areas could bring greater peace and alignment. For example, you might choose to declutter your home, not for the sake of aesthetics, but to create an environment that feels calm and intentional. Or you might streamline your commitments, focusing only on those that align with your priorities. And in conversations, consider whether you can say less and let your actions or presence speak more clearly than words ever could. Simplicity, at its heart, is about cutting through the chaos to uncover what truly matters. And when you live a life rooted in simplicity and modesty, you create a sense of clarity and focus that is undeniably powerful. It's a reminder to yourself and others that true respect isn't about how much you have, how much you say, or how much you do. It's about the depth and authenticity of what you choose to keep. The Stoics had an elegant way of handling insults, one that may seem counterintuitive at first, but is deeply liberating once understood. They taught that insults say more about the person delivering them than the one receiving them. Instead of reacting with anger, defensiveness, or hurt, the Stoics advised us to view insults as reflections of the other person's character, emotions, or misunderstandings, rather than our own worth. Marcus Aurelius, in his Meditations, captured this beautifully when he wrote, "You don't have to turn this into something. It doesn't have to upset you." Things can't shape our decisions by themselves. His advice reminds us that we have the power to rise above petty remarks and not let them dictate our emotional state. Think about the last time someone insulted you or criticized you unfairly. What was your immediate reaction? For most of us, the instinct is to defend ourselves, feel offended, or even lash out in return. But the Stoics saw this as an unnecessary surrender of our inner peace. They believed that allowing someone's words to disrupt your calm is like handing over control of your mind and emotions to them. And why should you do that? As Epictetus pointed out, If anyone tells you that a person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses about what is said of you, but answer, "He does not know my other faults, else he would not have mentioned only these." This isn't self-deprecation, it's a reminder not to take insults personally and to maintain a sense of humor toward your own flaws. By doing so, you disarm the insult entirely. To the Stoics, insults weren't proof of the recipient's shortcomings but evidence of the speaker's. Why does someone insult another person? It might stem from their own insecurity, jealousy, or anger. They might feel threatened by you or simply lack the self-control to speak kindly. When viewed through this lens, an insult becomes less of a personal attack and more like a window into the other person's struggles. Marcus Aurelius encouraged this perspective, writing, "When you wake up in the morning, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. They are like this because they cannot tell good from evil." This isn't about excusing bad behavior, but about preparing yourself mentally to engage with the world from a place of understanding rather than reactivity. Imagine this scenario. A colleague makes a snide remark about your work. A reactive response might be to fire back, escalating the tension, or to stew over their words for the rest of the day. But the Stoic response would look entirely different. First, you'd pause and remind yourself that their words are a reflection of their state of mind, not your value as a person or the quality of your work. Then you'd decide whether the remark holds any truth. If it doesn't, you let it roll off your back. If it does, you take it as an opportunity to improve without letting pride get in the way. Either way, you've maintained your composure and refused to give their insult power over you. One particularly powerful strategy the Stoics employed was reframing. Marcus Aurelius often reminded himself to take a step back and look at situations from a broader perspective. For example, if someone insults you, instead of seeing it as an attack, you might view it as a test of your patience, an opportunity to practice self-control, or even a chance to show kindness in return. By shifting your perspective, you change the meaning of the insult and take back control of the narrative. Ultimately, the key to handling insults, according to the Stoics, is to remain anchored in your own values and self-respect. When you know who you are and what you stand for, insults lose their power. They become fleeting words carried away by the wind while you remain steady and unshaken. The next time someone tries to tear you down with their words, remember this: their insult reveals more about them than it does about you. And by refusing to react, you rise above the pettiness, showing not only strength of character but also a profound sense of inner peace. Consistency is the backbone of respect. The Stoics believed that living a virtuous life wasn't about grand gestures or occasional moments of excellence. It was about showing up every day, aligning your actions with your principles time and time again. To them, consistency was the evidence of a disciplined and well-ordered mind. And it was through this steady commitment to virtue that a person earned not only self-respect but also the respect of others. Consider the words of Marcus Aurelius: "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." This quote captures the essence of the Stoic approach to consistency. It's not enough to talk about your values or think about the kind of person you want to be. What truly matters is the daily practice of living those values. The Stoics understood that actions, repeated over time, define your character far more than fleeting intentions or singular moments of virtue. Consistency reveals who you truly are because it reflects what you're committed to, even when no one is watching. Think about the role consistency plays in the respect you feel for others. Who do you admire more? The person who helps others only when it's convenient, or the one who is consistently kind and dependable, no matter the circumstances? Genuine respect stems from reliability. When someone's actions consistently align with their principles, you trust that they are who they claim to be. There's no pretense, no inconsistency, no need for constant explanations. They've built a reputation through repeated effort, and that kind of reliability is deeply admirable. Now, let's bring this idea closer to home. Reflect on your own life. Are your actions consistently aligned with the values you hold most dear, or are there areas where your behavior drifts away from what you say you stand for? These are powerful questions to ask yourself because consistency doesn't just affect how others see you, it's also the foundation of self-respect. When your actions match your principles day after day, you build trust within yourself. You grow confident in your ability to show up, to stay disciplined, and to live according to your values even when the path gets difficult. This inner alignment creates a quiet strength that others can't help but notice and respect. Consistency, however, doesn't mean perfection. The Stoics understood that humans are fallible and moments of failure or inconsistency are inevitable. What matters is how you respond to those moments. Do you acknowledge them, learn from them, and recommit to your principles, or do you let those moments derail you entirely? The Stoic approach is about persistence, about returning to your values again and again, knowing that real progress is made in small, steady steps. As Seneca said, begin at once to live and count each separate day as a separate life. Every day is a new opportunity to practice virtue and consistency, no matter what happened the day before. To put this into practice, start small. Focus on one value or habit you want to embody consistently. Maybe it's practicing patience when things don't go your way, being honest even when it's uncomfortable, or staying disciplined in your work even when motivation wanes. Whatever it is, commit to showing up for that value every single day. Over time, these small, consistent actions compound into remarkable growth, not only in your character but also in the way others perceive you. Consistency doesn't demand recognition or approval. In fact, the most consistent people often go unnoticed because their reliability becomes something we take for granted. But the impact of their actions is undeniable. They build relationships rooted in trust, inspire others through their steady example, and leave behind a legacy of integrity. And the same can be true for you, so take a moment to reflect. Are you living consistently with the person you want to be? If not, what small adjustments can you make to align your actions with your principles today? Remember, consistency isn't about being perfect, it's about showing up day after day, guiding your life with the steady compass of virtue. Over time, this quiet commitment will speak for itself, earning you the respect of others, but more importantly, strengthening the respect you have for yourself. Detaching from outcomes is one of the most liberating lessons the Stoics offer us. This idea might sound counterintuitive at first. After all, we're often taught to focus on results, getting the promotion, winning the argument, achieving the perfect goals. But the Stoics saw it differently. They believed that while you should absolutely put forth your best effort, the outcome of those efforts is beyond your control. And when you accept this truth, something remarkable happens. You free yourself from unnecessary worry, frustration, and the constant need to explain or justify yourself to others. This clarity and inner peace not only make life more fulfilling, but also foster a quiet strength and confidence that naturally commands respect. Epictetus explained this idea simply: make the best use of what is in your power and take the rest as it happens. In other words, focus entirely on what is within your control, your decisions, your effort, your attitude, and let go of everything else. The Stoics understood that outcomes are often determined by external factors, other people's actions, circumstances, timing, luck, and countless things you could never influence, no matter how much you try. By clinging to a need for specific results, you set yourself up for disappointment and stress. But by detaching from outcomes, you reclaim your power. You focus your energy on the process, on doing what aligns with your values, and you allow the results to unfold as they will. Imagine a situation where you've prepared thoroughly for a big presentation at work. You've spent hours perfecting your delivery, crafting your slides, and practicing your message. On the day of the presentation, you give it your all, only to find out later that your idea wasn't selected for implementation. If you're overly attached to the outcome, this rejection might feel like a personal failure. You might feel the urge to over-explain yourself to colleagues, to justify why your idea was worthy, or to question your abilities. But the Stoic approach would remind you to pause and ask, did I do everything within my power? Was my preparation and effort aligned with my values and my best abilities? If the answer is yes, then you've succeeded, regardless of the external result. The outcome doesn't invalidate the effort, nor does it define your worth. Letting go of the need to control the result allows you to move forward with confidence and resilience, maintaining your composure and earning respect for how you handle setbacks. This mindset of detachment fosters strength because it shifts your focus entirely to what you can influence. You stop wasting energy trying to control the uncontrollable and instead invest fully in the parts of life that are yours to shape. And when you live this way, when you approach tasks with dedication but aren't dependent on the outcome, you project a sense of calm assurance. People notice this. They sense your steadiness, your ability to stay composed under pressure, and your refusal to let external circumstances shake your foundation. This naturally inspires respect, as it shows you're not easily swayed by the unpredictable nature of life. Letting go of outcomes also reduces the need for explanations. Think about it. When you're not preoccupied with defending results or proving your worth based on external achievements, you let your actions speak for themselves. You're confident in the effort you've put forth, and that confidence eliminates the need to convince others of your value. Whether the outcome is favorable or not, your composure speaks volumes. You're not chasing approval, and in doing so, you earn something far more powerful: admiration for your steadiness and integrity. To adopt this mindset, start by regularly reminding yourself of the distinction between what you can and cannot control. When you begin a task, focus entirely on the process. Pour your time and energy into the parts within your power, your preparation, your focus, your intention. And when the results come, practice acceptance. If things go well, celebrate the effort that made it possible. If they don't, reflect on what can be improved, but don't dwell on the uncontrollable. This practice not only nurtures inner peace, but also builds a reputation for strength and reliability. Ultimately, the freedom of letting go of outcomes isn't about giving up, it's about focusing where it matters most and living with a sense of purpose unshaken by external results. This clarity inspires respect because it demonstrates a rare kind of courage, the courage to trust in your efforts, accept what comes, and remain steady regardless of the outcome. Courage to the Stoics wasn't about fearlessness. It wasn't about charging blindly into danger or proving your strength through reckless actions. Instead, courage was the act of facing adversity with dignity, composure, and an unwavering commitment to doing what's right, even when it's uncomfortable or difficult. To the Stoics, true courage was about holding your ground not just physically, but morally and mentally when life throws challenges your way. And in modern life, where adversity can take many forms, this kind of courage still commands deep and lasting respect. Seneca once wrote, "Sometimes even to live is an act of courage." This observation holds a powerful truth. Adversity is an inevitable part of life. Everyone at some point faces hardship. Whether it's personal loss, professional setbacks, or the uncertainty of navigating this ever-changing world, difficulty comes for us all. But what defines you and what earns the respect of those around you is how you choose to respond to it. Do you crumble in the face of challenges, or do you rise to meet them with integrity and resolve? Imagine someone who's faced with a significant setback in their career. Perhaps they're passed over for a promotion they worked tirelessly for, or a project they invested months in doesn't yield the results they hoped for. It would be easy to let disappointment morph into bitterness, to complain, blame others, or give up altogether, but the Stoic way offers a different path. Instead of reacting with despair, they would encourage stepping back and asking, what can I control here? What can I learn from this? And how can I keep moving forward with strength and purpose? This ability to remain composed and proactive in the face of adversity isn't just good for the person experiencing it. It inspires respect in everyone who witnesses it. A colleague who doesn't let failure break their spirit and instead approaches the next challenge with renewed determination naturally earns admiration. They've demonstrated courage not by avoiding hardship but by facing it head-on. In the Stoic world, courage wasn't limited to grand, dramatic acts. It was also found in the quiet strength of persistence. Epictetus emphasized this idea when he said, "Difficulties are things that show a person who they truly are." The daily decision to show up, to keep moving forward despite obstacles or fears, is a deeply courageous act. In modern life, this might look like the single parent who works tirelessly to provide for their children, refusing to give up no matter how tough things get. Or the individual who speaks up for justice even when their voice shakes because it's the right thing to do. These moments of courage, big or small, leave an indelible mark on those who witness them. Take, for example, historical figures like Nelson Mandela. After spending 27 years in prison, he could have chosen bitterness or vengeance. Instead, his courage was in his ability to forgive, to lead with grace, and to work toward reconciliation, showing the world that dignity in the face of immense adversity has the power to inspire and transform. While most of us won't face challenges of that magnitude, we encounter opportunities every day to hold our ground in the face of difficulty, to choose integrity over convenience and perseverance over despair. In your own life, courage might mean standing firm in your values when they're being tested, having difficult conversations rather than avoiding them, or taking responsibility for mistakes instead of shifting blame. It might mean trying again after failure or choosing hope in the midst of uncertainty. These acts of courage may not always be visible or celebrated, but they build inner strength and self-respect. And over time, they create a reputation of fortitude that others can't help but admire. The Stoics teach us that courage in adversity is not about avoiding fear, it's about acting in spite of it. It's about showing up day after day, staying true to your principles, and refusing to back down when life gets challenging. This kind of courage doesn't just earn respect, it inspires it. When people see you face difficulties with dignity and resilience, it speaks volumes about your character. And as the Stoics remind us, while you can't control the challenges life throws your way, you can always control how you meet them. Courage, then, is not just a virtue, it's a choice, one that has the power to shape your life and the way others see you. Honesty, to the Stoics, was far more than just a moral principle. It was a way of living authentically, a foundation upon which trust and respect naturally rested. They believed that truthfulness wasn't just about avoiding lies. It was about speaking and acting in a way that aligned with reality and integrity. For the Stoics, being honest meant living in harmony with your highest self, expressing your thoughts with sincerity, and ensuring that your words and actions reflected your inner values. In fact, they saw honesty as inseparable from courage, because telling the truth often requires bravery, whether it's being truthful with others or, sometimes even harder, being truthful with yourself. Seneca captured this beautifully when he said, "Say what you believe and do what you say." In other words, honesty is about consistency, about ensuring that your thoughts, words, and actions are in alignment. This kind of sincerity doesn't just make you trustworthy, it makes you respected. When people know that you're honest, they don't question your motives or second-guess your words. They know you're authentic, straightforward, and reliable. Think about how rare and valuable this quality is in a world where so much communication is clouded by half-truths, exaggerations, or hidden agendas. Honesty sets you apart. It eliminates the need for justification because your authenticity speaks for itself. But the Stoics didn't view honesty as an excuse for bluntness or cruelty. Being truthful doesn't mean speaking harshly or recklessly without regard for others. Instead, they believed in pairing honesty with wisdom and kindness. When you speak with sincerity, guided by reason and empathy, your words carry weight. They reflect clarity of thought and a respect for the other person, even when delivering something difficult. Seneca advised, if you would judge, investigate. This means that sincerity also requires careful consideration, thinking before you speak to ensure that your words are both truthful and constructive. Let's consider a practical example. Imagine someone asks for your honest feedback on their work. You could be brutally honest, pointing out every flaw without filter, leaving them demoralized. Or you could follow the Stoic approach, speak truthfully but with thoughtfulness. You might acknowledge their effort and highlight what works well while offering constructive suggestions for improvement. This balance allows you to practice honesty without causing unnecessary harm. And over time, this combination of sincerity and care earns you a reputation for being both truthful and respectful, two qualities that naturally command admiration. Honesty also fosters simplicity in your interactions. When you speak the truth consistently, you don't need to remember which version of a story you told or keep track of fabrications. Your words and actions align seamlessly, freeing you from the mental burden of maintaining a false image. People recognize this authenticity, and it eliminates doubt or distrust. They know where you stand, and that clarity builds stronger relationships. On the other hand, dishonesty, whether it's lying outright or bending the truth to avoid discomfort, creates complexity. It erodes trust and forces you to constantly justify yourself. The Stoics saw this as not only unnecessary but also harmful to your peace of mind. At a deeper level, honesty is also about being truthful with yourself. Are you living in alignment with your values? Are you acknowledging your own shortcomings and striving to grow? The Stoics believed that self-deception was one of the greatest obstacles to personal progress. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "If someone is mistaken, correct them kindly. If you cannot, blame yourself or no one." This teaches us that honesty begins within. When you're honest with yourself, you gain a clear understanding of your strengths, weaknesses, and the areas where you need to improve. This self-awareness naturally extends outward, shaping how you interact with the world. In the end, honesty doesn't need to be explained or justified because it reveals its value every time you practice it. When you live truthfully and authentically, you embody integrity, foster trust, and project a quiet confidence that earns respect. And as the Stoics remind us, honesty isn't just about what you say, it's about who you are. When your words reflect your principles and your actions mirror your values, you don't need to demand respect, it follows naturally. Accepting imperfection is one of the most freeing lessons the Stoics have to offer, and it's also one of the most essential principles when it comes to earning respect through compassion and understanding. The Stoics understood human nature deeply. They recognized that no one, not even the most virtuous philosopher, is free from flaws. Instead of expecting perfection, they taught the importance of embracing our shared humanity and using that acknowledgement to guide how we interact with others and ourselves. By accepting imperfection, you not only free yourself from unnecessary frustration and judgment, but you also cultivate compassion, an attribute that earns deep and lasting respect. Marcus Aurelius, as emperor, could have held others and himself to impossible standards. Yet in his meditations, he frequently wrote reminders that people are bound to make mistakes. When you wake up in the morning, he advised himself, tell yourself, the people I deal with today will be meddling, ungrateful, arrogant, dishonest, jealous, and surly. But far from being an excuse to grow cynical or dismissive, this acknowledgement served as a call for empathy. He understood that human weakness is not unique to others, it's something we all share. By starting from a place of acceptance, he prepared himself to respond to others' imperfections with grace rather than frustration. This principle doesn't mean lowering your standards or excusing harmful behavior. Rather, it's about recognizing that expecting people to act flawlessly or expecting perfection from yourself is unrealistic and bound to lead to disappointment. When someone makes a mistake or falls short, the Stoic approach is to ask, is this something I've done before or could do? This reflection reminds you of your own fallibility and creates a foundation for understanding rather than judgment. It shifts your mindset from frustration to compassion, allowing you to interact with others in a way that fosters mutual respect. For example, imagine a scenario at work where a colleague misses an important deadline or makes an error in a group project. The immediate urge might be to criticize or express frustration, but what would happen if instead you approached the situation with a Stoic mindset? Acknowledge that mistakes happen, that you too have likely fallen short at some point, and guide the conversation towards solutions rather than blame. When you handle such situations with patience and empathy, you not only resolve the issue more effectively, but you also demonstrate leadership and emotional intelligence. This kind of response earns respect because it shows that you value people over perfection and understand the complexities of being human. Now, let's turn that same principle inward. How often do you hold yourself to impossible standards? When you fall short, do you criticize yourself harshly, replaying the mistake in your mind long after it's passed? The Stoics emphasized the importance of self-compassion, acknowledging your own imperfections, and using them as opportunities for growth rather than sources of shame. Seneca wrote, "It is a mistake to think that one's faults lie in the past. They are still about you, rooted in your heart. That is why they are long-lived, continually springing up again." Instead of fearing your flaws or denying them, he encourages you to face them honestly, learn from them, and move forward. By accepting your own fallibility, you cultivate a quiet confidence. You no longer feel the need to explain or defend every misstep because you understand that imperfections are a natural part of life, and that improving yourself is a lifelong process. When you extend this same principle to others, you become not only more compassionate but also far more respected. Picture someone in your life who consistently handles conflict or mistakes with patience and grace. They don't jump to blame or criticize. Instead, they acknowledge the issue calmly, work toward a solution, and move forward without holding grudges. These qualities are deeply admired because they reflect emotional maturity and a true understanding of human nature. Ultimately, accepting imperfection is about freeing yourself from the unrealistic expectation that anyone, yourself included, should always get everything right. It's about meeting mistakes with understanding, whether they're your own or someone else's, and choosing to respond with humility and compassion. This Stoic practice not only brings you peace but also fosters stronger relationships and builds respect, one understanding interaction at a time. After all, respect doesn't come from perfection, it comes from how gracefully we handle our imperfections. Living with purpose was at the core of Stoic philosophy. The ancient Stoics believed that to live a meaningful life, you must have a clear sense of direction, a guiding principle that shapes your decisions, actions, and how you show up in the world. Without purpose, life becomes scattered, reactive, and ultimately unsatisfying. But with purpose, every choice aligns with something greater. You stop drifting with the tides of external circumstances or other people's expectations and instead chart your own course. This steadfast focus on living a purposeful life not only brings clarity and fulfillment, but also inspires respect from those around you. Why? Because people naturally admire those who know who they are and what they stand for. Marcus Aurelius, in his meditations, often reflected on the importance of focusing on one's higher purpose rather than being distracted by trivialities. He wrote, "People who labor all their lives but have no purpose to direct every thought and impulse toward are wasting their time even when hard at work." For the Stoics, purpose wasn't something vague or abstract. It was a daily practice of aligning all your actions with your core values. Whether it was Marcus Aurelius dedicating his life to leading Rome with wisdom and justice, or Epictetus using his teachings to help others live virtuously, everything they did was grounded in their larger sense of purpose. This clarity gave their lives meaning and empowered them to remain unwavering even in the face of challenges. Purpose has a way of anchoring you. When you know what you're working toward or what drives you, it becomes easier to stay resilient in difficult times. Imagine two people facing the same adversity. One has a clear sense of purpose. They know why they're enduring the hardship, and it aligns with their values. The other doesn't. They see the difficulty as pointless, leading to frustration and despair. Which of the two inspires more respect? The person with purpose stands firm, enduring with a sense of direction and meaning. Their sense of clarity and focus is admirable because it reflects discipline and inner strength. Living with purpose also cuts through the noise of life. In today's world, it's easy to get caught up in distractions, chasing short-term goals or shallow forms of validation. But these things rarely bring fulfillment, and they often leave us feeling scattered or ungrounded. The Stoic approach to purpose offers an antidote. Focus on what matters. Purpose helps you distinguish between what's meaningful and what's trivial, allowing you to allocate your energy toward what truly aligns with your values. When you operate from this sense of focus and intentionality, others notice. People respect those who act deliberately rather than impulsively, those who are guided by principles rather than fleeting desires. Purpose, however, isn't about grand gestures or dramatic life changes. For the Stoics, it was woven into the fabric of everyday life. It could be as simple as asking yourself before any action, "Is this in service of my higher purpose?" Or, as Marcus Aurelius suggested, what is your vocation to be a good person? Purpose doesn't have to mean changing the world. It could be as personal as striving to be a better parent, supporting others in your community, or pursuing mastery in your craft. What matters is that it's authentic to you, that it comes from within rather than being imposed by the expectations of others. Take some time to reflect on what truly drives you. What are the values and principles that guide you? What kind of person do you want to be remembered as, and how can you align your daily actions with that vision? Living with purpose isn't about finding a single, perfect answer. It's about continually seeking clarity and staying true to what matters most to you. As you work to uncover or deepen your sense of purpose, you'll find that your actions naturally carry greater weight. Your decisions become more intentional, and your presence resonates with authenticity. And through this, you'll inspire not just respect from others, but also a profound respect for yourself. What is your purpose? Take a moment to think about it. Not in terms of what others expect from you, but in terms of what feels true to you. What would it look like to live each day with that purpose at the center of your thoughts and actions? Reflect on this. It could be the first step toward creating a life that feels not only meaningful but also deeply admired. As we bring everything together, let's reflect on the timeless wisdom the Stoics have offered us. At the heart of living a life that earns respect without explanation lies self-control, integrity, and the art of detachment from external validation. The Stoics taught us that true respect begins within, rooted in the mastery of our emotions, the alignment of our actions with our principles, and the ability to remain composed no matter what life throws our way. It's not about convincing others of your worth. It's about becoming the kind of person who naturally commands admiration through quiet confidence and steadfast virtue. Self-control reminds us that while we can't control what happens around us, we always have power over how we respond. Whether it's criticism, adversity, or the temptation to react impulsively, responding with calm and intention not only preserves our inner peace but also shows others that we are steady and reliable. Integrity, on the other hand, is about staying true to your principles even when no one is watching. When your words and actions consistently reflect your values, you become a living example of authenticity, someone who doesn't need to explain themselves because their life speaks for itself. And finally, detachment from external approval frees us from being controlled by the opinions of others. The Stoics teach us that real freedom lies in focusing on what's within our control, our choices, our effort, and our character, while letting the opinions of others fade into the background. As you think about these principles, ask yourself, how can I live with greater self-control? How can I align my daily actions more closely with my values? And where in my life am I still seeking validation that I can let go of? These are the kinds of questions the Stoics ask themselves every day, reflecting not to be perfect but to make progress. Through this continuous practice, they became people of strength, wisdom, and humility, qualities we can all aspire to embody. Let me leave you with the words of Marcus Aurelius: waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be. Be one. This simple yet profound idea reminds us that earning respect isn't about demanding it or endlessly explaining ourselves. It's about living with purpose and virtue, allowing our actions to speak louder than words ever could. If these ideas resonate with you, take a moment to reflect on how you can apply them to your own life in small, meaningful ways. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments below. We'd love to hear how you're embracing Stoic principles to live a life of quiet strength. And if you're on this journey to grow and live with greater purpose, consider subscribing for more insights like this. Together, we can continue to learn, grow, and support each other in this pursuit of a life